The simmering tensions in the Strait of Hormuz have sparked concerns across the globe. Iran's insistence on charging tolls on the Strait of Hormuz has triggered a debate over maritime choke points becoming geopolitical flashpoints. But Strait of Hormuz is divided in two parts. One falls under the control of Iran, while the other half comes under the territorial waters of Oman. The waterway provides the shortest sea route from East Asia to West Asia and Europe. Now, vessels continue to pass through the strait before US and Israel launched attacks on Iran in February this year. Responding to these attacks, Iran blocked the waterway, skyrocketing crude oil prices across the world. Tensions eased after US and Iran agreed on a memorandum of understanding in June. The agreement sought to end hostilities and open the Strait of Hormuz, but Iran continued to insist that any vessel passing through the strategic waterway must take note from its Persian Gulf Strait Authority. Now, Iran and Oman have designated two separate routes for vessels to pass through Hormuz. Iranian route passes through the north, while Omani route passes through the south. Avoiding Iranian route, vessels started passing through the Hormuz via Oman-controlled waters. But Iran launched attacks on a number of vessels, triggering fresh wave of confrontation with the United States. To break the impasse over Hormuz, countries are looking at another choke point that connects the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. The Strait of Malacca, Oman has reportedly prepared a plan based on principles used in the governance of the Strait of Malacca. Oman has reportedly offered to send legal experts to Iran to explain the plan in detail. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held a meeting with his Omani counterpart in Muscat. Both leaders discussed and exchanged views on establishing appropriate mechanisms to ensure the safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the Strait of Malacca falls under the joint jurisdiction of its three littoral states, Malaysia, Singapore and Indonesia. These three nations share responsibility for navigation safety, environmental protection and security in the Strait of Malacca. Meanwhile, Gulf nations are growing concerned over the future of Hormuz Strait. Qatar has warned against any arrangement that would give Iran greater control over the Strait of Hormuz. To discuss this in greater detail, we earlier spoke to Mr. Greg Swenson, who is an international affairs expert from London on the issue, and this is what he had to say. Let's listen in.
Well, I think it's troubling because I think the president and the U.S. would prefer diplomacy, and that's why we signed the memorandum of understanding last month. But I think that the only lessons that the regime will listen to are those that are sent via missiles and fighter planes. And so, look, the U.S. is completely capable of clearing the strait. We started to do that already. We're escorting ships. We can enforce a blockade of Iran anytime we want. This is not Iran's strait. They happen to be on the, they happen to reside on the strait, and that's okay. If there was some sort of not tolls, but if there was some sort of fees that were paid to pay for navigation services, to pay for, escorting or something, that's something that would be somewhat palatable. But in terms of a direct toll, it will never happen.